The radio drama that you are about to hear is one in a series created to mark Prince Edward Island's 150 years as a Canadian province. It is set in Summerside, the principal service center of Prince County. On July 1st, 1873, Prince Edward Island became the 7th province of Canada. It was a busy year in the seaside settlement of Summerside in Prince County. The unplanned village was without government or law enforcement other than a vigilance committee. The lack of both was creating problems in the rapidly growing community.
You look rather dour this morning, Mr. Holman. Something on your mind?
I have good reason to be sour, Mr. Hall. That damn stipendiary magistrate let young MacLeod off for pilfering lumber from my storehouse. I was good enough to give MacLeod a few days' work, and he repays me by stealing.
Unfortunately, many of our laborers are struggling for survival, having come through a hard winter with little work. Did the magistrates let him off on the grounds that he needed the lumber to expand his shanty now that he has more mouths to feed?
No, Mr. Hall, that was not his reasoning. He let him off with nothing more than a stern warning due to the distance to transport him to the county jail in St. Eleanor's. How ridiculous to have the law thwarted because of a travel distance of 3 miles.
You know, Mr. Holman, the road is little more than a cow path, and the distance to the county jail has often been cited by the visiting magistrates as a reason for their laxity in having rowdies jailed.
Indeed it has. It is making it difficult for honest businessmen such as ourselves to protect our properties and our commodities when scoundrels know there will be limited consequences. Be careful with that cart, boy. Make sure you can account for every nail.
Well, there should be little need or time for stealing now that spring has arrived and construction is brisk to both the east and the west of the village. There is much and plenty work for all. I myself have hired on a large crew to rebuild my machinery factory.
Yes, that was quite a fire. Mr. Dowell has also hired for his furniture factory, as have Montgomery and Grady for their respective warehouses. Mr. Bishop is moving his forge and workshop, and Mr. Kelly is running up a number of shanties on his lots. However, there will be those who will still find time to make trouble, especially if they have money for a bottle. Something has to be done to address the lack of law in Summerside. Now look at those fine logs felled north of the village. They'll make perfect lumber for your factory, Hall.
Considering people's discontent with the absence of law in the village, it would be fair to assume a colonial government announcement in June of 1873 would bring great accolades. The government announced that the county seat would be moved from St. Eleanor's to Summerside, which was quickly taking over as the main service center for the county. The honor would result in a courthouse and jail being built in the settlement. The announcement was not well received. Many residents were highly offended that a jail would be built in Summerside.
Good afternoon, Alice. Jean? Did you ladies read the stance the Progress newspaper has taken on the new courthouse and jail that is intended for Summerside?
I am a patron of the Summerside Journal, Mabel. Their opinions usually more in line with my own. What does the worthy editor of the Progress have to say on the matter?
Oh, Alice, you wouldn't spend a penny for the Progress, but still you want to know what it's reporting?
Why would I spend a penny when Mabel can tell me its contents and I can tell her what the Summerside Journal is saying?
True, but if you don't read it for yourself, how do either of you know you are getting the true sentiment of each paper?
Why is it, Jean, that you think so much like a man? That father of yours has done you no service giving you such a liberal education. You'll never find a husband.
A stimulating book can beat a boring husband any day, Alice.
Ladies, please. The Progress editor is protesting against the building of the jail on the grounds that the St. Eleanor's jail is not too far from the town and would serve all our needs for years to come. If Summerside simply hired a policeman or two that could transport the ruffians to the lockup.
Well, for once, he's in agreement with the editor of the Summerside Journal. He's asking the citizens to take the matter in hand and give a decided protest against the contemplated desecration of our town by the erection of a jail in its midst.
The editor of the Charlottetown Patriot has written that though they do not begrudge a new brick or stone courthouse being built in Summerside, it will make the government expenditure for the year heavy. That will mean more taxes for everyone. Good afternoon, Reverend and Mrs. Simpson.
Good afternoon, ladies.
What is your take, Reverend Simpson, on a courthouse and jail for Summerside?
If the wishes of our people are regarded, the new courthouse will be an ornament to the town. If they are not regarded, and a jail is built along with it, it will not matter how handsome the structure is, for there will be an evil odor attached to it.
This can be ill afforded in Summerside.
Looking at the matter in even the most favorable light, it is hard to accept. We have so few buildings in Summerside distinguished for architectural beauty.
You are so right, Mrs. Simpson. It is hard to believe that when we are about to have one, its beauty must be needlessly marred.
We do hope that Summerside may be spared the dismal spectacle of barred windows and stockades on its only public square, which Joseph Green was so kind to bestow upon us.
Stockades? Surely not, my good man. I shudder at the very thought of it.
What I shudder at is the large grant the king gave the Green family for being United Empire loyalists, while the Scottish and Irish settlers are kept as landless tenants of absentee landowners. Not to mention the disgraceful conditions the native people have been left in with the theft of their land. But no one is going to court or jail for that, are they?
Oh, tut-tut, Jean. Cooling of your blood might be advisable. I suggest you visit the barber for a little bloodletting. It is so much easier to have done now that they use leeches rather than cutting you.
It's the books that she reads that rile up her blood. I can agree with you, Jean, on the plight of our European settlers, but not on the Micmac. Since arriving here, Europeans have done a great deal to civilize them, especially the churches. Would you not agree, Reverend Simpson?
Entirely. And now that we are joining Canada, there should be more access for the churches to government money to assimilate them into our ways and save their souls.
Amen to that. No one should be lost. Salvation most certainly must be offered to those who end up behind the jail bars and in the stockades, but preferably in St. Eleanor's.
Be careful, ladies. Step back. In my opinion, there is not one agreement that can be advanced in favor of building a jail in Summerside. Not one.
We are in total agreement with you, Reverend Simpson.
Government will do as it wishes. Sadly, we women who are not people under the law have no say in it other than the influence we can exert upon the men in our lives.
Reason enough for you to hunt for a man then, Jean, since you have so much to say.
Government did do as it wished. The jail was housed in the basement of the brick Italianate-style courthouse designed by John Corbett and built by Thomas Beattie and his workers. It was with picks and shovels that the foundation was dug out for the structure in 1874. For the citizens of Summerside, negative energy clung to the building for some time until it gradually became accepted as part of the streetscape. The old St. Eleanor's courthouse was converted to a school. Numerous stories are attached to the Prince County Courthouse and Jail. The best known one is the role its brick facade played in saving the wooden structures to the north of it in the Great Fire of 1906, which swept across the town, destroying 155 buildings in its path. The brick walls of the courthouse, along with rain and firefighting efforts, are credited with stopping the fire. The courthouse was ravished, but restored with a third story added in the 1930s. Though there are calls for a new Prince County Courthouse and Jail to be built in Summerside, the 1873 structure still faithfully serves in 2023.
No Jail, Thanks, presented by Wyatt Heritage Properties Incorporated. Narrator, Stuart Smith. Mr. Hall, Stephen Hurst. Mr. Holman, Josh Friends. Mabel, Lisa Carbon. Alice, Vanessa Gallant. Jean, Michelle Stetson. Reverend Simpson, Daniel McLeod. Mrs. Simpson, Shelley Stetson. Foley's, Nathan Wiley, Jim Dixon, Scott McLeod. Musician, Alexandra Arsenault. Researcher, Jean McKay. Scriptwriter, Marlene Campbell. Recording engineer, Peter Gallant. Any errors in historical accuracy in the composition of the script are the responsibility of Wyatt Heritage Properties. This project has been supported by the Department of Canadian Heritage Building Communities through Arts and Heritage Program and the City of Summerside.